So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Miller Abel is with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and he'll be taking us through kind of an introductory to how the Mojaloop project fits in with a level 1 project, and we'll take it from there. Miller?
It's good to be back. I do wish we were in person, but we're going to have a great session this week. One thing that I'm reflecting on is, on this journey that we've been on and the community that we built, is that the breadth of this organization has grown tremendously just since May, when we announced the launch of the formal foundation itself, and that Paula's and Simeon have been corralling us into a bit of a more formal organization. But before that, we had done much of the technical work that got us to the point where we thought we had a pretty reasonable and viable platform that could be used, and had been adopted then a couple of times. What we've seen, though, since May is the tremendous inputs from the community in thinking about how the technical platform itself will expand over the coming months and hopefully years, to really embrace the goals that Paula outlined up front, which is to provide a platform for interoperability that interconnects all financial systems and types together to create this platform for interoperability that can be used as a jumping board for financial inclusion. Access is the most important thing for, step one, I would say, is the most important thing for financial inclusion. Having access to the ability to pay anyone, regardless of where you hold your account, so that account types can actually be tailored to the individual needs of users, and not one size fits all. And we've seen in Kenya and across East Africa and elsewhere, the use of mobile money has just unlocked the ability of people to join the formal economy and to grow their livelihoods. The ability to interconnect those systems together, just those systems, is already underway in Tanzania and in other places. And we've seen that unlock opportunity directly. But what we found is that interconnecting mobile money systems with traditional banking systems and other forms of financial institution, that's really the unlock. It's the vibrancy of the financial services that can be provided, not just through account provision, but over the top, the application ecosystems that form. In Asia and in Africa, we've seen some novel applications that integrate payments into the application itself, and that derive a form of, we'll say, financial access and inclusion from the provision of services, not necessarily simply provision of account services directly. So rather than simply a novel place to put your money, these are places in which you can actually express your financial life through the use of these novel applications. I think that's really the key part where we see growth happening. And the important aspects of what we've added since we began this journey back in 2016, and then since we formalized this in May, is the focus that we've seen now placed on these alternative financial services and the ways that they can connect through the account providing systems and the banks, and then through the interoperable rails that Mojaloop provides. One of the most important pieces of work that we've seen to really unlock that is the work that Google has brought to us with their payment initiation service provider workstream. This is an ability to say that a non-account holding financial system can develop. That is, you can participate in the payment ecosystem without necessarily being a account holding institution. And the payment initiation is one of those things. This ability to have a unique form of wallet offering or other form of service system. It's not a merchant, it's actually part of the financial system, but a part that doesn't actually hold financial funds directly. And doing that safely and within the confines of a payment scheme, such as would be hosted by a provider that uses Mojaloop, is very novel. It's been done in India with the UPI system, And two of our sponsor members, PhonePe and Google, have been involved in that system and are now iterating with us to think about how we can add that facility to Mojaloop. And why that matters is that it has been an unlock on volumes in India. It has shown that access to this novel form of access to your money, interface to your money, is in fact an unlock. That you don't have to switch banks because you don't like the mobile app. You can put your money where it ought to be, where it's safest and where it gives you the most access to alternative services. But you can then select the way in which you spend that money by using these independent services like wallet interfaces or novel merchant services as well. So I think that a lot of what we're going to see added onto the system as we go forward is this, first of all, a doubling down on things like security and robustness of the platform, a work stream that we have underway, which is involved in looking at performance and scalability. That is the way in which the system, what does it cost to deploy Mojaloop, and how much performance do you get from it? How many transactions can be processed by the system concurrently, and how many users can be served, and how much does that cost? And as the system grows over time, what does it cost to scale the system, and what are its theoretical maximums? We've been doing a lot of that work and adjusting the way in which the system is implemented to support higher volumes and more efficient scalability. The PISP work, all of these things together are helping us think about both more depth and breadth of the platform offering itself. The fundamental part about this, though, is that it's being driven by the community itself. Folks are coming in and saying these are the areas where the system needs to improve, where we can add value to it, and where there are areas where we think that it would unlock new opportunities. We're going to hear a little bit from this week also from the folks at HiPeople, who have been running some hackathons and outreach to the fintech community to think about what's the fintech community going to do with interoperability when it shows up in their markets, and how should we be modifying or adjusting what we do at the platform level to support that explosive growth that we imagine will be coming soon from the fintech community as interoperability begins to take off across the African continent. So I think this is really the outline of where I see things growing now. And to figure out where this all came from, we'd like to touch base a bit on what happened over the last really 8 years and what led us to this point. And my colleague, Matt Bowen, is going to join us today to talk a little bit about the Gates Foundation's Level 1 project, which was really the beginning effort that we undertook that led to the development of open source payment software. And it brought us to this point today. And I'd like to ask Matt to do that, following which we will hand it back to Paula to kick off our wider agenda. And Matt's coming in cold off vacation, so let's all give him a hard time.
Bring it on. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
From Seattle. Realize not morning everywhere. And I did think that we were doing this a little different today. I thought Michael was kind of providing some of this, and I was going to do color. So forgive us if we sort of shuffle agenda here. But I am more than happy to cover this as I've covered it in the past. Michael does think he has this covered.
Michael does have some. I thought it might be useful, though, if you could kick us off a bit with the Gates Foundation side of where we began with Level 1. And then I think Michael's got a deck he's going to present to explain what Mojaloop is and what it's not, and take us through that. With that setup, I will turn it over to you.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, so the Level 1 project has been the Gates Foundation. Let me start my video here. Has been the Gates Foundation efforts in financial services infrastructure over the past about 8 years or so. And we started really with a set of principles, and I'll let Michael actually hit the principles, but these principles were sort of discussed and honed and evolved over the course of a few years, talking to several hundred folks across, a plus countries, really looking to think about what are the features of a payment system that can make it pro-poor, and for us that means low cost and accessible and useful, right? So as we looked at those principles, we really got it down to, you know, a dozen or so principles that really will help to make these systems work together. One of the key principles is interoperability, as Miller was explaining. When these things work together, they really are able to take off. This all is seated at the Gates Foundation in our team called Financial Services for the Poor. And that team is really focused on financial inclusion, and you see that reflected in the Mojaloop mission statement that Paula shared out. Our work has been largely focused on Africa and South Asia, and is you know, sort of expanding, as Paula said. So our work at the Gates Foundation will kind of continue to focus on those geographies, but the Mojaloop Foundation has a broader remit, broader service area, and we're very excited about that. So I don't want to steal Michael's thunder with any of the principles. So if that is ready, I'll hand it off.
Thanks so much, Matt and Miller.